Reacting to The Kid Who Hacked America by Fern.
This is Kevin Mitnick, one of the world's most famous hackers, and one of the first. In many ways, his story shaped how we think of his kind. The media vilified him, the authorities hunted him, and they were all extremely scared of him. Mitnick's story is about the advent of modern IT, about a kid who always wanted to be a magician. Most of all, it's Catch Me If You Can, but with computers.
In the 1990s, I was the most wanted.
Bro, can I just say, Catch Me If You Can, crazy good movie, but as I've watched it and I've seen other movies where Adam Sandler has been in it, I think I just enjoy Adam Sandler more in the serious roles. I feel like he does a crazy good job.
Hacker in the world.
You get that adrenaline rush from the accomplishment of breaking into the system or finding a security hole.
This video is largely based on the book Ghost in the Wires by Kevin Mitnick. It tells the story from his point of view, meaning some details rely on his personal recollection and can't always be independently confirmed.
Oh wait, so it's based off of, that's who the guy said the hacker was. Unless he got caught, this is like him just telling what happened, rather than like the police or FBI or whomever trying to piece it together, or the public trying to piece it together.
Young Kevin Mitnick loves watching magic tricks, but audiences fascinate him. Magic is about control. Magicians pull your attention where they want it.
Okay, I'm cutting in again here. This is something that's been on my mind a lot recently. Do you guys ever think about how boring it must have been to be a kid? Maybe not so bad as like in the 1960s, but like in the 30s. If you want to watch TV, there's no sound, right? There's like no sound. Like they have like the silent films then, and it's all black and white. So you have to like interpret what they're saying. The artists and the actors can't express their expression as much. So you just like don't get any of that. So like you couldn't have done that. And then the radio, I feel like there was very little on the radio that like was really kid oriented. And the few things that there was like commercials for like a cereal brand. Back then kids played outside a lot more. That's what you had to do. Even that has its limitations depending on where you are. Like, yeah, you might go like play sports or like go lounge at the pool. And I think like even today, like not every kid, but like a lot of kids still do that. But at least now, like if it's like egregiously hot or like cold, or you just have been doing the same stuff. Like if you lived in a small town, like when I was in high school, I grew up in a small town and we had a local pool that had like 2 slides. So you go to this local pool, you can go on 2 slides and then you've kind of seen everything there. So you go there for like a day or two, you're bored as shit there. You're bored as shit there. So then you got to figure out what else to do. Okay. You like go over to your buddy's house and play football. Again, that's fun for like a day, 2 days. Like you just want to keep doing more, and that's like what the advantage of like videos, television, and video games are, is like you have infinite possibility if those other things get boring. Granted though, if you're a kid in the 30s, what you're probably just doing like slave labor at like a factory, so maybe that was fun.
Make you see what they want you to see. They take advantage of what you assume is true. At a magic show, people enjoy being fooled. Not so much in the real world, but it's equally easy, perhaps even easier than performing a magic trick when the audience knows there's a literal ace up that sleeve. In everyday life, people tend to be helpful, trusting. They want to do the right thing. One can use that, manipulate them, control them, make them do things they shouldn't, or spill secrets they should have kept to themselves. This is called social engineering. And soon, young Kevin gets really, really good at it.
You not only have to think about technology, you have to think about the people that use the technology, because it's usually easier to hack a human than it is to hack technology.
It's summer break in Los Angeles in 1975. Kevin is 12 years old. He spends the whole day riding the bus. Each ride is 25 cents plus another 10 cents to transfer. It adds up. So Kevin comes up with a plan. He notices drivers carrying booklets of blank tickets. When they sell a ticket, they punch it with a special tool. Kevin needs both. So he sits near the driver and spins a story about a school project, something about punching interesting shapes into cardboard. The driver ends up telling Kevin exactly where he bought the hole punch. Well, that was easy. Then he follows the driver to the bus depot. Many drivers throw their booklets away after their shift. Kevin checks the trash cans and finds tons of unused tickets. Now he can spend the whole day in the bus without paying.
How old was he at this point? Like, I feel like I never would have thought of this. Was this like average IQ for his age? This is just from 2003 to 2022. And like, look how much they plummet. I think the average adult is actually way smarter. But I think the average kid is a lot dumber. Because when you were a kid back then, you didn't have as much to do, like mind-numbing things. Like, you couldn't just go and play video games or scroll on your phone. So you actually, like, studying was a lot more fun. Because you had less things that you could, like, distract yourself with. But then, like, as you got older, I feel like back then, a lot of it was, like, factory work and like, retail and that kind of stuff. So, like, I feel like there would have been, like, a plateau, whereas now there's, like, a lot more high-tech jobs. So, like, kids start off, I think, dumber now because they're, like, scrolling through phones and, like, playing video games. But then, like, once they start to hit college and stuff, like, they kind of get those gains back and then actually have to if they want to succeed.
A dime. But Kevin is just getting started. In high school, he meets Steven. With one call to the phone company, Steven manages to get the unlisted number of Kevin's mom.
Yes, hello?
Kevin is blown away. He wants to know how this works. Soon he becomes part of a community of early phone hackers, so-called phreakers. They manipulate telephone systems to make free calls and explore how the network works. Kevin's interested in the technical side, but the social part of phreaking is what really intrigues him. He wants to understand how phone companies work, so he starts calling
Yo, cat break real quick. Here's my other cat.
them pretending to be a colleague. He asks about their departments, who has access to what, how employees handle requests. What he's really after is access to unlisted numbers, the ones omitted from the phone book for privacy. One day, he manages to get on the phone with someone from the department responsible for omissions.
Do you guys ever think about that too? Like, you used to have a phone book that had everybody's number in it, like their house phone number and all of this stuff. Like, think about it now. If you want to get somebody's number, you have to get it from them. Whereas, like, back then, like, you could literally call anybody as long as you knew their name, and like, you would just like know that and like their address and that kind of stuff. Like, that's crazy. When was the last Yellow Pages printed? January 2019. Wow. I feel like that's much later than I thought it would have been. Like, I feel like 2010 maybe would have been like a better time to phase that out. Because like at that point, like the internet was coming up. And so like there was a lot of things already being digitalized, and cell phones were like already a huge deal then. And also, who would want their name in the Yellow Pages, their phone and address? Who would want that?
Omitted from the phone book for privacy. One day, he manages to get on the phone with someone from the department responsible for omissions, the Non-Pub Bureau. Kevin pretends to be a certain Jake Roberts working for the telco company. The employee explains that unlisted numbers can only be shared with authorized staff, and Jake Roberts isn't one of them. Kevin's asked to provide an internal phone number where they can call him back. Obviously, he doesn't have one. But hanging up now would attract suspicion, so Kevin keeps the story going. His department manager was supposed to add him to an authorization list. He'll need to double check. Kevin starts calling different departments, asking to be connected to a manager. This time, he's posing as Tom Hansen from the Non-Pub Bureau.
What is he doing? Why is he doing this again? Did I forget why he's doing this again? Like, this is some like James Bond level stuff.
He says he's updating the list of authorized employees and asks if the manager wants to stay on it. He just needs to provide his name and phone number. Finally, he calls a company technician and asks him to forward the manager's calls to an external number. Et voila! Kevin can now get the Non-Pub Bureau to call him back and provide Bruce Springsteen's private number. Just for fun. Kevin is 17 when the head of security of the phone company GTE pays his mom a visit. If her son doesn't stop freaking, they'll terminate the family's phone service. He doesn't, of course.
Bro.
Then, one day, another visit. This time, it's the FBI. They warn Kevin to stop messing with the phone company. Kevin is terrified.
Bro, you think this looks like me, eh? Just for like a comparison here. Like, you think that looks like me?
But at the same time, it's a thrill. As soon as the agent leaves, Kevin is back to freaking. Hacker stories like Kevin's show that computers get a lot more interesting once you understand how they work. With boot.dev, you learn coding by
He got me.
your first year on the annual plan. Scan this QR code or click the link in the
Go get that
description.
for Fern.
Boot.dev is really fun and we can't
Go get it
recommend
for
it
Fern.
enough. A few months later, Kevin meets up with some freaker and hacker friends at a pizza place. They talk about Cosmos, a massive database used by Pacific Telephone and other major California carriers. It maps how the network is built and where the lines connect,
Okay.
making it easier to find weak spots and exploit the system. For freakers, this is the holy grail. The building housing Cosmos is just a few miles from the pizza place, so Kevin and two of his friends go check it out. Kevin takes the lead. He tells the guard he works there and wants to show his friends around. The guard buys it. They've analyzed Pacific Telephone operations for so long and called the departments.
You guys ever think about how this kind of stuff would be so crazy nowadays to do? Like, one, if you came up, they're instantly going to be like, yo, we gave you like a corporate ID or like security card. You got that shit on you? And if you don't, they're just going to be like, go home and get it. Or they'll be like, let me look you up in the system real quick. Like, any business ever would do that. And then once he got in, like, there would be so many cameras on you because they're gonna just like review the camera at any point in time if they see anything suspicious and then be like, hey, that guy doesn't work here. Like, I don't know how you could do this modern day.
So many times, they know which room the Cosmos employees work in. It's room 108, and they manage to find it. Inside, they come across a folder with dial-up numbers for every Southern California wire center, along with manuals explaining how the entire system runs. It's a gold mine. They take the manuals with them. But their secret only lasts a few days. One of Kevin's friends can't keep quiet. He tells an old flame about the manuals they stole, and she rats them out to the phone company.
They always tell somebody. Why would you ever tell somebody? Like, I understand there's the whole like concept of the guilty conscience where like you tell somebody you did it and it makes you either feel better about doing it or you feel like proudful because you did it. So you like, for a variety of reasons, you have to get it off your chest. I don't understand why you would ever tell somebody, especially somebody who's like your old fling. Like, maybe if it's your spouse, it's much less likely that they're going to tell versus some old fling that like, what, maybe you're hooking up with now? It's the same thing with like a best friend. Like, I would never tell a friend or a best friend that I did this. And like, this is what it is with like a lot of people who do these like crazy heists or like plans or whatever it might be, is they always make some stupid little mistake. Like, they tell them, or like robbers, a lot of the times you see they like leave a license plate on their car that like gets caught on like the nearby like Denny's camera. You were smart enough to figure out like how to break into the bank, memorizing like this, like the security shift changeovers, like timing how long it takes for the police to arrive once they do call it in. You can figure all of that out, but you can't figure out how to take the 2 screws off your license plate. Like, it's that kind of stuff that like I will never understand. Maybe it's the pressure of everything that's going on, right? Like, you do have a lot you have to look at. So maybe it's the pressure of that, but like when it's pretty much your life at stake, take an extra day and figure it out. I would be reviewing that thing a million times.
To the phone company. Kevin gets arrested. He'll later describe how scared he is in that moment. At the time, he's still just 17, and as he's handcuffed, an officer supposedly yells at him, "We will teach you a lesson." Kevin is charged with burglary, grand theft, and conspiracy to commit computer fraud. Luckily, he's tried as a juvenile. The judge sends him to a juvenile correction center for a 90-day psychological evaluation, followed by a year of probation. All in all, he gets off pretty easy. This is his chance to stop. dial things back. But it isn't long before he's caught in the act again. This time, Kevin and his hacker friend Lenny are caught in the computer lab at the University of Southern California. They were trying to
Why, when they get away with it, or not get away with it, when they get caught, and then they go, like, they get out and they do it again, you're already going to be suspect of any, like, semi-related crime in the area that you live in that gets committed. They're going to know, like, if it's some tech crime like this again, they're going to be like, hey, remember that guy that got out, like, 6 months ago who did this same exact thing? And it's also like his fling that's calling up and telling us this again. Like, you know what I mean?
steal the login credentials of all the students. A pattern emerges. Probation, arrest, probation. Kevin knows that something has to change. It's the mid-80s. Kevin's in his early 20s and trying to turn his hacker skills into an honest career. Of all places, he decides to apply for a job at a phone company. And not just any company. He lands a job as a programmer at GTE.
Do you think they get hired on, like, at the FBI or CIA to do, like, cybersecurity? Like, I feel like if you have somebody who's good enough to hack into, like, the FBI database, or even if it's like a corporate database, wouldn't they want to do that? Like, hire you on? Because, like, you broke in, so, like, you kind of know, you're good enough to know how to do that. You're probably good enough to know how to defend from similar attacks. This guy's saying that they only hire straight-laced, well-vetted people. I feel like that just can't be true, right? Why wouldn't you? Obviously, you got to take them through some kind of, like, rehabilitation. Maybe that's too strong of a word, but, like, a way to vet that they're not going to, like, mess up your security, or just keep a better, like, a closer eye on them once they are in there. But I feel like they could easily defend your systems, corporate, CIA, whatever it might be. Like, if they break in, they know how to probably defend it.
At first, no one realizes who they've hired. Kevin thinks he's finally on track. A solid job, doing what he loves, a legitimate paycheck. But then he's asked to fill out a security form. After just 9 days, he's fired. They say his resume is inaccurate. His past is catching up with him. And it's easy to see why. It's the 80s and fear of hackers is on the rise. In 1983, the thriller War Games hits theaters. It's about a high school hacker who accidentally breaks into a military supercomputer, nearly triggering World War III.
Shall we play a game?
How about global thermonuclear war?
A wave of hacker hysteria follows. Headlines ask, how real is the horror of war games? After watching the movie, President Reagan reportedly orders his advisors to look into whether any of it could actually become reality. At this point, computers are still a mystery to most Americans. People who can hack into them don't have a defined image. War Games changes that. It puts hackers in the spotlight, casting them as dangerous, unpredictable, and even catastrophic to society.
Bro, there was a story. It wasn't a hacker. This guy got arrested because the AI said he did a crime, and it just didn't.
Me, man. I'm not.
This morning, a Florida husband and father is suing multiple law enforcement agencies after being wrongfully arrested, he says, due to a flawed AI facial recognition technology.
I don't wish this on my worst enemy.
Tell you what, man, I'm gonna put you in the cuff in the front.
This is nuts.
Police body camera video obtained by our affiliate Gulf Coast News showing the 2024 arrest outside Robert Dillon's home.
I was basically telling them this is crazy. I have no idea.
Like, could you imagine, like, the police come knocking on your door and they're like, yeah, we know you did this crime, and you have no idea what they're talking about? Like, dude, imagine they come up and they knock on your door and they're like, yeah, so we know you robbed the Louvre. What are you gonna do? Like, I feel like I would think it's a prank at first. Like, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. And then I like look behind him and like see the police officer like hand on his hip or something, you know? I'm gonna start shaking, dude. I think I like have a heart attack right there and die. Like, that would be terrifying. My anxiety would be through the roof. Wasn't there an AI that thought a chip bag was a gun out of high school? It thought that one of the students' Doritos bag was a gun. Watch out, dude. Watch out. He's got a gun. Like, the white kid's pulling this from his fucking backpack. You know what I mean? Mid-class.
Kevin doesn't see himself as any of those things. Over the next few years, he drifts through boring jobs by day, but by night, he hacks. Together with Lenny, he's targeting a very specific company. It's their biggest challenge yet. You've probably never heard of DEC, but in the 80s, DEC is the second largest computer manufacturer in the world. One of its biggest successes is its VAX line. Relatively small and cheap enough that even smaller companies can afford them, these mini computers turn out to be real milestones. Kevin and Lenny take aim at their operating system. It's called the Virtual Memory System. They want to study its source code and find security flaws. And by looking at past fixes, they might be able to figure out how to sneak in their own back door, a kind of secret entrance into other people's computers. But of course, they don't have access to the VMS source code. It's well guarded. They need to get into the VMS development network. So Kevin falls back on what he does best: social engineering. Lenny taps into the building's phone wiring from his work. He reroutes his connection through a fax line belonging to another company. This way, outgoing calls can't be traced back to them. Meanwhile, Kevin is in a hotel near Lenny's office. He uses a payphone to call Lenny. Then, holding a different payphone to his other ear, he calls DEC. Posing as an employee, he convinces a DEC operator to run a show users command. This command lists everyone currently active and logged into the system. At that moment, Lenny is in the process of logging in.
Bro, again, they're not asking for any level of identification. Yo, what's your employee number? Or like, what's your name? I'll look up your email address real quick if you're an employee. Yo, I'm just calling. I'm a employee at your business. Oh, okay. So give me every user that you have at the company. Yeah, sure, employee. Like, what are we doing here?
One entry shows Lenny as login and the device name. Then Kevin tells her to type in this spawn command. It quietly creates a logged-in process on Lenny's modem connection, using the operator's account. Now Lenny is inside DEC's VMS development system, a cluster of connected computers used to work on the operating system. And Lenny has the full privileges of the operator they just tricked. But there's security software monitoring everything that's going on. So they upload a tool that disables it without triggering an alarm. Instead of creating a new admin account, they hijack unused accounts and change their passwords. Now Kevin and Lenny can dig through the system freely. They comb through the computers and mounted disks. Eventually, they find one called VMS_source. Bingo. Next, they look through the emails of a VMS developer. Maybe he mentions vulnerabilities. In one file, they find an analysis of a modified version of VMS's login program, Login Out. It was developed by members of the German hacker collective Chaos Computer Club, and it's a backdoor. It changes the login system so it can secretly store passwords, hide certain users, and disable alarms when someone enters a special password. Kevin and Lenny build on the CCC's work. They improve the backdoor and keep adapting it to newer versions of VMS. Soon, they're able to install it on numerous VMS systems on DEC's global network. They essentially have access to any VMS system they want. But they're not after sensitive data. They want to copy the source code, just for laughs. Finding it isn't hard. Transferring it is. The source code is massive, so they compress and encrypt it. If anyone comes across it, it'll look like garbage. Next, they want to smuggle the code out of DEC's network. They look for systems in the network that connect to ARPANET, a military and academic network that will later become the internet. They use it to move the code piece by piece. But soon, they encounter another challenge. Storing the code in one place creates a huge risk of being detected, so they search for places where they can hide copies. One is a NASA lab. Using their backdoor, they get into the Jet Propulsion Laboratory's systems.
Bro, what? They just went from a normal company internal system to the military internet that will eventually become the modern day internet to a internal NASA server to a jet propulsion laboratory. Wouldn't this just be easier to do it somewhere on that internal company website? Like, why do they have to go through all of these different... Maybe I'm an idiot, but I don't understand why they need to go through, like, all of these and like nobody's noticing or caring. That's insane.
JPL eventually realizes someone is in their network. When they find the CCC's backdoor patch, they suspect the German hacker group of gaining access. The news breaks that a German hacker group has hacked NASA. Kevin and Lenny are undeterred. They continue with their plan until finally they've transferred the entire source code. Next, they put it on magnetic tape, essentially ancient hard drives, so they can go through the code without fear of being tracked. In the end, Lenny and Kevin have roughly 30 tapes containing the full VMS source code. Kevin and Lenny could go on forever. They start challenging each other, making bets. Who's the better hacker? They both work at companies using VMS. Whoever manages to break into the other's company's VMS system wins. The prize is always $150, a dinner at a fancy Beverly Hills restaurant. And Kevin...
That's it? That's what they did this for? They literally caused a global headline. The government and public thought that NASA was broken into by Germans. So these two chuckle fucks can bet each other for $150 and a dinner? Like, what?
often wins. So often that Lenny starts getting angry. At one point, he accuses Kevin of cheating and refuses to pay up. When Lenny doesn't pay his debt, Kevin comes up with an idea. He calls the company where Lenny works and impersonates an agent in the IRS's wage garnishment division. He claims to have a garnishment order and says that Lenny's payment should be withheld. When Lenny finds out about the prank,
Why would you do that? What kind of ego do you have that you are willing to do that? You're going to pretend to be a federal officer, which is a federal offense, point at your partner in crime and be like, you guys should check him out. He's doing something weird. You should garnish his wages. Like, what? Like, that's going to put such a bigger spotlight on him. People are going to be looking at him.
doesn't find it funny at all. He's furious and he confesses to his boss about Kevin and the DEC hack. The two of them call DEC security. Eventually, the FBI is informed. A few days later, Lenny lures Kevin to a parking garage. When Kevin gets out of his car, FBI agents flood in and arrest him. As agents led him away, Kevin reportedly turned to Lenny and asked him, "Why did you do this to me?" Lenny answered, "Because you're a menace to society."
Dude, what? They did the same crime. They worked on it together. Why would you do that? So what, your idea is like, I'm just gonna admit to it and turn this guy in. What? What?
Prosecutors hit Kevin with a long list of charges. The DEC hack, stealing data from the NSA, breaking into police databases to erase their records of him, even spreading false information about a bank as revenge for not being hired. The DEC claims his fun little adventure has cost the company about $4 million. Kevin says he had nothing to do with most of these hacks. He thinks they're rehashes of rumors about him, anything to make him look dangerous. But
Isn't this the guy has 5 criminal records right now of like hacking into companies? Like, he's been arrested and returned to society like a handful of times for doing this exact crime. If I'm the jury and it's like, oh, you've done hacks before, you work for like a really technical company, like we literally know you've broken into buildings before, like, huh. And these are just rumors about you. Like, who would be starting the rumors? Who cares enough about this guy to start a rumor? Nobody. Really, this guy's a nobody. Like, until this occurs. Like, obviously, this is a big deal. But, like, public perception, he's a nobody. Like, this guy's probably that weird-ass guy that, like, eats a tuna sandwich at his desk during lunch. And everybody hates him because it smells horrible and the break room's, like, on the other side of the building. So he could just eat it there, but he doesn't. Nobody's starting a rumor about you, dude.
prosecutors go even further. They tell the judge that Kevin is capable of accessing America's air defense systems with a phone call and initiating a nuclear holocaust.
So I started laughing in federal court because that's nothing. I never heard something so stupid in my life.
That's what the dude actually looks like. I think my earlier description matches what I said about him perfectly. You know, he's the first one after the pot of coffee gets made. He's grabbing it. First guy. And he's taking like half the pot. He's got this thing that he's like taking to the coffee pot and like filling this bitch up. This thing's going all the way to the top of the coffee. There's no coffee left in that thing. Somebody else is going to have to make a new pot.
And the judge actually agreed with the government.
It's the late 80s now, a few years after war games. Most people still don't really understand what hackers can and can't do. Computers in general are still met with suspicion since few people have one. Fear of nuclear war is in the air.
Take cover at once when you hear the attack sound.
So the authorities play it safe. Kevin is kept in solitary confinement while awaiting trial. He's denied access to a phone, and he spends most of his time alone. Time magazine writes that a phone in Mitnick's hands is like giving a gun to a hitman. The LA Times labels him a dark side hacker. The article also quotes Lenny. He calls Mitnick an electronic terrorist and claims he can ruin someone's life just using his fingers. One investigator suggests Mitnick's computer might be an umbilical cord to his soul. Eventually, Mitnick and the prosecutors reach a deal. He's sentenced to a year in prison, followed by 6 months in a halfway house. There, he's supposed to address his addiction to
Dude, they're literally talking about how any piece of technology in this guy's hand could end life. He could start nuclear wars. He gets 1 year in prison and then 6 months in a halfway house. That's it?
6 months in a halfway house. There, he's supposed to address his addiction to hacking. By the early 90s, Kevin is free, and he's serious about changing his life. Under the terms of his supervised release, he's forbidden from contacting other hackers. Finding a job proves almost impossible. Every time he gets an offer, his probation officer has to contact the employer. That outs him, and he stays unemployed. Without hacking, there's zero thrill in Kevin's life. He doesn't feel intellectually challenged. He'll later write in his book, "There was no sunshine in my life."
I was so passionate with hacking, it came to be like somewhat of an obsession for me.
So when Kevin hears that a big super hacker named Eric Hines
Can I just tell you, Fern did this guy so good in the video. Like, he looks like he could, like, play a secret agent. Bro, this is what he looks like in real life. Again, like, they made him look so much better.
It came to be like somewhat of an obsession for me.
So when Kevin hears that a big super hacker named Eric Hines wants to talk to him, he calls him. Hines rattles off hacks he's pulled and well-known hackers he's worked with. Kevin is impressed and wants to hear more, but he has to be careful. He's on probation. Talking to Hines could get him into serious trouble. So Kevin decides to bring in his friend Lewis. He becomes the front man, doing most of the talking with Hines. On a phone call, Hines mentions a special internal testing system called SAS, used by the telco giant Pacific Bell. It can be used to monitor phone lines. In other words, to listen in. Kevin's never heard of it before, but he's instantly hooked. He wants access. Kevin does what he does best and manages to get in. Now he and Lewis can spy on almost any private conversation within Pacific Bell. Hines is a strange guy. His calls go through a middleman. Hines is hesitant about giving out his own phone number, and he doesn't appear to have a job, yet he's always talking about hanging out in expensive clubs. So Kevin and Lewis want to meet him in person. They set up a meeting at a burger joint. Once they arrive, they don't have to look long. You can't miss Eric Hines. He looks like a rock star. Kevin and Lewis don't trust Eric, and they make that very obvious. They place handheld scanners right on the table. They even sweep Eric's body with an RF detector, checking for hidden microphones. It picks up nothing. At first, the conversation is cautious. Neither party wants to reveal too much. But eventually, Kevin and Lewis tell Hines that they've already made it into the SAS system. To prove it, Lewis pulls out a floppy disk and inserts it into Eric's laptop. Hines is stunned. He warns them to stay away from SAS or they'll get caught. Kevin is suspicious of Hines, but it's clear he knows a lot about hacking, and he seems to have a master key giving him access to every phone company's central office. Despite his suspicions, Kevin decides to stay in touch with Hines. The contact is just too valuable. Maybe they could trade information at some point. At this point, Kevin has crossed several lines. Again, he's violated the terms of his supervised release. He's back in regular contact with hackers. He's hacked into another phone company's system. And his gut tells him something is off. Through a series of calls, he finds out his phone is tapped. Who's listening
Bro,
in?
all just for fun, for
And
love
why?
of the sport.
Maybe
Literally
this
for
has
love of the
something to do
sport.
with Hines. Kevin tracks down Hines' apartment and phone numbers. Then he checks in who actually owns them. Neither the apartment nor the phone numbers are registered to Eric Hines. They belong to a man named Joseph Warney. Kevin also gets a hold of another phone number linked to Hines under a different name. He calls the provider pretending to be Hines and says he's lost his phone bills. Could someone fax him copies? Customer service is of course happy to help. It seems that Hines has been calling the FBI. Who is Eric Hines? An informant? An FBI agent? It doesn't matter. Whoever it is, they're on to Kevin. And if they catch him...
Yeah, bro. He's addicted, but like, what a weird thing to be addicted to. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just don't understand how hacking is the addiction. Maybe it's not actually hacking. I think it's actually the thrill of the idea of getting caught and getting away with it. You know what I mean? I think that's what it is rather than hacking. Hacking is just the medium that he knows how to do that. Like, I think that's what it is a lot of the time. Like, you see a lot of the time, a lot of people who, when they like commit crimes, even if it's like robbing a bank or something, they commit the crimes, they get caught, they go back into society, and they like get a normal job. And like they're making fine money, like they're living a fine life, and they'll go back to the crimes, even though they don't need to, just because it's that thrill.
He's going back to prison. Kevin starts listening in on Hines' calls. One day, he talks to someone who sounds like an agent, and they mention a search warrant. Kevin immediately starts destroying evidence. He reprograms his phone and clones it to a new number. He takes his computer and boxes of disks to a friend's house. The FBI could show up at any moment. And they do. In late September 1992, the FBI search his apartment, but they don't arrest him. 3 months, that's all that's left of his supervised release. Maybe he can still make it. Maybe they don't have enough evidence. After all, he wiped everything. Kevin makes a decision. He stays in LA for the 3 months he has left. If they come for him, so be it. If they don't, he's gone for good. He'll start a new life somewhere in the US. He's already thinking about which city he'll go to. Then his supervised release finally ends.
If you had to run away to another city, what city do you think it would be? Like, I think that's a lot harder to do now because like there's so much like facial ID and that kind of stuff. But if this was like back in the 90s or the 80s, I don't know what city would be best. Because like if you ask me, you have two options. Either somewhere really rural where nobody will find you, right? Like Alabama. You go to some rural town in Alabama or like Kentucky and nobody's going to look for you there because the population is so low. Or honestly, the other end of the spectrum, like New Jersey or like LA, right? Where like the population is so dense that it's hard to pick you out. Because you might be like, well, there's a higher chance you're going to be identified in the higher population place. One, nobody really cares about you in the higher population place. In the more rural place, that's where they're going to care about you. Like, because they're going to know you because they see you more often. You're easily more recognizable. So if there's a headline that's like, hey, we're looking for this guy, and like Bob is driving down the street in his like Ford F-150 and he waves past the guy that he drives past every single day and it's him, like Bob's gonna know that guy. But like if you're in like LA, dude, like yeah, maybe somebody's gonna recognize you, but even if they do, you could live so far from there and like they're not gonna be able to track you well because like there's 1,000 people in a square mile. So I'm kind of leaning more towards something like that.
Kevin Mitnick is a free man. For a moment, he's relieved. He learns that Hines is indeed a snitch, that he worked with the feds. He must have told the FBI a lot about him. And eventually, Kevin learns that there's another warrant for his arrest. His mother has been approached by agents searching for him. He has to run. But he can't escape what happens next. In just a year, his name will land on the front page of the New York Times. They'll call him a computer programmer run amok, one of the nation's most wanted computer criminals. He'll become cyberspace's most wanted.
Yo, if the police go to your mom and they're like, ma'am, your son, we believe, is a hacker that's capable of launching nuclear missiles at Russia. Like, you think your mom defends you in that situation? Or do you think she like full rats you out there? Like, I don't know, right? Because it's like, unless she plays the like, oh, I haven't talked to him in a long time. He's been really distant lately. Like, whatever it might be, they're going to know you're talking, right? And they can also track that kind of stuff. Like, if it's through letters, I'm sure like they can like see where letters are going on like a postal database. Or if it's anything online, like that's going to be traceable. And then if it's in person, like they're definitely going to stake the area out. Like, low-key, I feel like my mom, she's like, okay, this is his exact address. Go get them, boys. Like, they're gonna come busting down the doors while I'm at like the Pizza Hut.
This is Tsutomu Shimomura. He's a researcher at the University of California's San Diego Supercomputer Center. Shimomura doesn't look like your typical scientist. With his long hair and shorts, he's a cross between computer nerd and surfer dude. His main focus is the physics of computing, but more and more, he's being pulled into cybersecurity. He's become a valuable expert for the FBI and NSA. It's the final days of 1994. Christmas is over and Shimomura makes his way home from the airport. He's exhausted. But before going to bed, he realizes he hasn't checked his voicemails in a while. He isn't prepared for the message he receives.
Damn you. My technique is the best. My boss is the best. Damn you. I know artist technique. I know send mail technique. And my style is much better. Don't you know who I am? Me and my friends will kill you. Hey, boss, your kung fu is really good. That's right. My style is the best.
At first, Shimomura thinks this must be a prank call, but two words stick out to him: artist and send mail. They're basic system tools used to move files around and send emails, but hackers also use both to exploit well-known vulnerabilities in Unix systems. Whoever left the message must know a lot about computer security. Maybe this has something to do with a very recent hack. Just a few days ago, someone broke into Shimomura's personal network. On his network, Shimomura kept a collection of security tools, along with sensitive information about little-known bugs and vulnerabilities. Some of these were found on widely used systems. For a hacker, this information could be extremely valuable. What the intruders probably didn't realize is that one of Shimomura's machines was automatically copying records. These files were sent to a secure place in the network. The moment the break-in started, an alert was triggered at the San Diego Supercomputer Center. Within 24 hours, university staff kicked the attackers out. After being hacked, Shimomura and a student sought out the weak spots in his network and started fixing them. A few days after the first voice message, Shimomura gets another one.
Your security technique will be defeated. Your technique is no good.
These guys are clearly baiting him. But why? He's been looking into records of the recent attack. Trying to reconstruct it, he realized just how much of his data was stolen. Tens of thousands of emails, personal files, and source code for programs he's written. His security systems were bypassed using a technique that until then has been mostly theoretical: IP spoofing. The attacker impersonated another computer's IP address. When data travels across the internet, it moves in small units called packets.
How much data can a hacker get in 20 minutes? Right? They said they knocked him off the thing in like 20 minutes. Can he get all of that data back in 20 minutes? Internet back then, though, you're getting like what, 1 megabyte download? 56 kilobytes per second.
Each carries an IP header with information on its source and destination. In an IP spoofing attack, the hacker modifies the source address in the header. This makes the packet look like it originated from a trusted source. Shimomura contacts the Computer Emergency Response Team, or CERT, about the attack. The group specializes in IT security. 2 weeks later, CERT issues an official warning about IP spoofing. The warning makes the front page of the New York Times. According to the article, many of the 20 million computers connected to the internet are at risk. Attackers could peek into systems and steal files. A few days later, the newspaper publishes a profile of Shimomura. He's considered one of the country's most skilled computer security experts. According to the article, he considers solving the crime a matter of honor. The press has created a cyber superhero, just as they created a cyber supervillain. And eventually, The two will go head to head. In
Damn,
February
that's cinema.
1995, Shimomura gets another weird voice message.
Tsutomu, my learned disciple. Why you put my voice on the net? This is not good. Haven't I not taught you, grasshopper? You must learn from the master. I know all the techniques and styles. I know tiger claw style. I know crane technique. I know crazy monkey technique. And I also know artist and send mail.
Bro, I love criminals have these like goofy themes that they do. Bro, it always makes me think of the wet bandits from Home Alone. And man, I just eat that stuff up. When they always leave like a calling card, or they always like act a certain way, or like wear something in specific. It is actually the dumbest thing you could do as a criminal. But man, it is not only so funny, the aura you have if you get away with a couple of crimes and you left the sinks on. That's so cool.
You put my voice on the net? I'm very disappointed, my son.
Shimomura wants to know who this strange caller is, so he puts his own hacking skills to use and starts working closely with the FBI. One day, a user on an online hacker forum receives a notification. His account's storage is full. That's strange. He's barely used it. When he checks his directory, it's packed with mysterious compressed files and batches of emails. Someone must have taken over his account. Most of the emails are addressed to the same person, Tsutomu Shimomura. A student of Shimomura's goes through the stolen files and discovers a file named 0108.gz. It contains the credit card numbers of over 20,000 Netcom customers. At the time, Netcom was a booming internet provider in the US. Shimomura teams up with Netcom to track down the person responsible. They discovered that the hacker used a Netcom account for some of the attacks. By cross-referencing login times from the online forum with Netcom's connection logs, they find a match. One user stands out as the likely culprit. The trail leads to Raleigh, North Carolina. Now they know the attacker's location, but they still don't know who he is. Then a Netcom technician has an idea. The company has a tool that shows what a user types in real time, a keylogger. It was originally meant for troubleshooting, but Shimomura and the team can now use it to observe the hacker's moves. It looks like he's logging into a chat program. There, he starts chatting with another hacker. At first, they discuss security vulnerabilities, but then the topic shifts to Shimomura, who's watching them in real time. The hacker has no clue he's being monitored. He's fuming over a New York Times article and the fact that his photo ended up on the front page. For Shimomura, this is the final piece of the puzzle. The person who attacked his server must be Kevin Mitnick. February 15, 1995. Kevin's been on the run for over 2 years. He's applied to a
Wait, so that guy, Kevin, you're telling me that this guy is calling what is known as like the most renowned cybersecurity specialist in the world, and he's making karate jokes at him? Bro, this is what I'm talking about when I was saying like they're addicted to the thrill of like almost getting caught and get away with it. Low-key, sometimes I think they just want to get caught. Like they get away with it and they want to get caught because they want to talk about it. Like I think that's another portion to it. Like the satisfaction of being like, yeah, I did it. Not even like the publicity of like they want to be known per se. Like I'm sure in some cases, but I feel like a lot of the time it's just the like the satisfaction of people like knowing that it was done.
Number of jobs using a fake identity, but nothing came of it. He's at his computer, as always, when he notices that backdoors he's been using have recently been patched. Something's off. Like many other times in his life, it's the FBI. They ask if he's Kevin Mitnick. He says he's not. They enter and start searching his apartment. They go through his closet. In the inner pocket of an old ski jacket, they find a piece of paper. It's a pay stub, made out to Kevin Mitnick. Shit. The next day, Mitnick is taken to court. The room is packed with journalists. Shimomura is present too. Superhero and supervillain face each other in real life for the first time. The hearing only lasts a few minutes, then Mitnick is led out of the courtroom. As he passes Shimomura, he nods and says, "I respect your skills." Shimomura nods back. Kevin Mitnick's...
This would have to be the most nerdiest thing you've ever listened to. Bro, it's 1993. You're putting down a super hacker and a super cybersecurity defender across the table from each other. Holy shit. If I'm in the jury, like, that's gotta be so damn boring. At that time, like, nobody's that tech savvy. They're not gonna know what the hell these guys are talking about. Like, holy cow. And it's not even like that cool back then either. The hackers now have to go through like insane stuff to get in. Oh man, it's gotta be miserable.
The hero and supervillain face each other in real life for the first time. The hearing only lasts a few minutes, then Mitnick is led out of the courtroom. As he passes Shimomura, he nods and says, "I respect your skills." Shimomura nods back. Kevin Mitnick's arrest made headlines across the country for 3 days straight. Once again, he landed on the front page of the New York Times. A most wanted cyber thief is caught in his own web. The LA Times wrote, "To some, Kevin Mitnick is an electronic terrorist." His trial takes place in North Carolina, but California wants to prosecute him too. So he makes a deal. He pleads guilty to a single charge. The other charges in North Carolina are dropped and he's transferred back to his home state. In September 1996, he's charged on 25 counts. He's
Holy
accused
shit.
of hacking companies like Motorola, Nokia, and Fujitsu during his 2 years on the run, stealing software worth millions. The total damage claims eventually reach almost $300 million. As the trial goes on,
$300 million? What is that now? $657 million. Not far off from a bill.
support for Mitnick grows. The hacker community rallies behind him. Some question his guilt. A Free Kevin movement emerges. Supporters believe he's being treated unfairly and that his case is being exaggerated. Author Jonathan Littman questions whether it was really Mitnick who broke into Shimomura's systems. He also doubts that Mitnick left the voicemails. On the day of Mitnick's arrest, Shimomura received 2 more mysterious messages.
Oh.
No, my friend. I just want to reiterate. It is big joke. It is big. Make fun of Kung Fu movie. No, do not fly out to come and get me. I'm not worth it. Just make fun of Kung Fu movie. That is it. Thank you.
Hackers attack websites like Yahoo and the New York Times.
So is it
leaving
not
messages
him?
demanding Kevin Mitnick's release. Others criticize a book about the takedown of Mitnick. They think the author, Jonathan Markoff, may have embellished the story. A film studio secures the rights to a movie adaptation. In March 1999, Mitnick accepts another deal with prosecutors. He pleads guilty to 7 of the 25 charges. Combined with his earlier conviction in North Carolina, he's sentenced to 5.5 years. By this time, he's already spent 4 years in pretrial detention. What was once claimed to be nearly $300 million in damages is reduced to $4,125 in restitution. The Mitnick case becomes a symbol for America's hacker paranoia. Even after he's served his sentence, the restrictions on him are severe. For 3 years, he's banned from using any computers. No cell phones, not even a TV. The only electronic device he's allowed to use is a landline.
Dude, could you imagine that today? If you couldn't use any TV, computer, phone for 3 years, we'll say like since you were allowed to use a landline, like we'll say like you could use a flip phone. That would be torture. Like I don't know if I could do that. I legitimately don't know if I could do that. What job could you even do where you have no interaction with any sort of like screen-based device? Like maybe a factory job. Maybe if you're just like a line worker and you're not like a higher thing. Dude, I could not do it. I could not do it.
He isn't allowed to take any job that involves access to computers. And even back then, they were everywhere. Just before his release, Kevin Mitnick appeared on 60 Minutes. For the first time, he spoke directly to the American public.
I saw myself as an electronic joyrider having a great time on the information superhighway. I felt like I was like James Bond behind the computer. It was a big game to me. I was just having a blast.
Did it ever occur to you that perhaps what you were doing was wrong?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was an invasion of privacy. You know, going and getting access to other people's information is obviously a gross invasion of privacy, and it is wrong.
And that didn't bother you?
At the time I was doing it, no.
A con artist trying to make big money is easy to label. You can put him in a box. But for people like Mitnick, there was no box. Maybe that's what fueled the myth of him as the dark side hacker and cyber thief. On January 21, 2000, Kevin Mitnick walks out of prison. Technically, he isn't allowed to use computers for 3 years after his release. But his probation officer starts making exceptions. Mitnick reinvents himself as a cybersecurity expert. Companies pay him to find their security flaws.
Bro, and that's what I'm saying. That's the meta. You do that, people start paying you to look for those flaws, because it's like, if you can break into it, then you can solve it. And that's so smart too, especially in this guy's case, because clearly he's not doing it for the money. Clearly he doesn't care to do it for the money. He doesn't care to do it for that. It's for the love of the game. Like, he just loves hacking. So why not just get a job where that's kind of what you do? Like, that makes so much more sense. So much more sense.
He appears publicly as a specialist and writes several books. In his biography, he recalls that a single word changed hacking forever: authorization. It magically transformed him from the most wanted hacker into one of the most sought-after security experts around. On July 16, 2023, Mitnick died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 59. Obituaries honor him as a pioneer and legendary hacker.
Bro, can I just say, W for video.